I was gonna go over a Piers Morgan video today, but as I clicked on YouTube, this just pops up from 1 day ago. Am I a black man if I say I'm a black man? Oh no. This is also featuring Riley Gaines, who I definitely have heard her name pretty frequently now in the conservative space. I'm pretty sure that she is a female athlete who lost to a trans person, and now she's either a really sore loser or she believes really strongly in keeping trans people out of sports. Not sure exactly, but we'll have to see. We're going to skip her boring, bland take, and we're going to listen to Jordan Peterson. We're going to start with Jordan Peterson's rant, then we'll just kind of go into the debate from there.
Well, he says a sexually narcissistic movement headed for a fall because it's been taken over by the radical trans lobby. Let's take a look.
There's a real tinge of narcissism, sexual narcissism, the trans pushing, gender affirming butchers and liars primarily target young people who's...
So keep in mind he's calling trans people narcissists when Jordan Peterson right here is actually saying that despite the fact that the medical field, the entire medical institutions across the Western world have pretty much all said, hey, trans affirming care seems to be the best thing for trans people. Jordan Peterson's like, nah, I think I actually know more. I know better. That is narcissism, my friends. That is a demonstration of narcissism to say, I don't care what any of the facts say. I don't care that every single major medical institution disagrees with me. I am right because I think I'm right. How is that anything but narcissism? And that's what Jordan Peterson's doing while simultaneously calling gay and trans people narcissists or something.
Most likely outcome on the sexual front is homosexuality. I don't like the flag. I think it's a piece of idiocy. I don't understand why it changes every bloody week. And I think...
Wow. I swear to God, man, you've never seen a more sensitive snowflake than conservatives when they see a flag. Pretty much any flag except the American flag has conservatives triggered as fuck. It's almost concerning. Who here lives a life privileged enough that you're able to take a step back from a long, hard day of work and say, you know what? You know what's been bothering me a lot? The pride flag. And why do they keep changing it? It's just, it is very sad.
The surgery, the gender affirming care movement, I think it is Nazi Auschwitz level awful.
Jordan Peterson says trans people are narcissists. Now Jordan Peterson is saying the medical institution that makes these gender affirming care decisions based on evidence and research, Peterson is saying, nah, I still know more. I know more. I'm smarter. They're all like the Nazis. You can't just say that's like Hitler, by the way, and expect your argument to suddenly land.
What on earth is that closeted gay man wearing? That is an abomination. That is a crazy load of absolute bullshit. I'm sorry. That is insane. How dare he say that about Auschwitz? Gay people...
I mean, I've even made jokes before like this also about like this guy seems like he's in the closet and stuff like this. But usually I say that as like it appears like an individual really does seem closeted. I don't say it as an insult. I don't really agree with his take here because I can totally see conservatives weaponizing this essentially, because I used to do it too. They could say something like, you say you're pro-gay, but now you're calling somebody gay as an insult? If you're pro-gay, why is it an insult to be gay? What? It kind of like, it's easy to sort of work around and kind of throw back in their face. Just keep that in mind if you are ever to make an argument like this. Be prepared for that kind of a response.
People were killed alongside Jewish people and disabled people in the Holocaust. That is disgusting, Piers. That is disgusting. You shouldn't even be giving that airtime.
Well,
I wish this guy would actually make an argument. He's just like, he's just acting offended. That is appalling. Despicable even.
A very famous guy.
Yeah, but we shouldn't be listening to what he thinks. I mean, he says loads of nonsense.
Well, you say loads of nonsense. I don't deplatform you.
No, I mean, I do
don't
agree
say
with you.
that.
I agree with you, James. Wow, that drawing likeness to Nazis and Auschwitz is a bit extreme. However, he does make a valid point that
Well, he was talking specifically about
the butchery of gender-affirming care.
That's what he was talking about.
I'm sorry. There is nothing positive about basically castrating people and chopping off.
So is this just like a panel of morons all getting together to argue about something they have no fucking understanding of? Butchering people.
Their breasts and their sexual organs to try and affirm anything other than some deep psychological distress. And I think that's
Here we go again. Yes. Random lady number 55. She actually also knows more than the medical professionals, everybody. You see, it's actually a psychological problem, despite the fact that there is a load of research to suggest that gender is a lot more complicated, especially gender dysphoria and anything that would require gender-affirming care. It's far more than just some psychological thing that people need to stop thinking they're a different gender or something. It's not this simple. If it was this simple, we would not see trans people the way that they are nowadays, and we also would see far more effectiveness when it comes to things like conversion therapy, but we don't. Keep in mind, because people say like the butchering and the mutilation of children, they'll say things like this. What is the definition of butchering and mutilation? Usually it's like hacking somebody up for no point other than to cause pain and grave bodily injury. That's what mutilation is. To perform a surgery that has clinical benefits, that is not mutilation any more than it would be mutilation to have your breast removed if it's infected with cancer. It would be exactly the same. That's not mutilation. It's a surgery. Mutilation, butchery, they use these scary sounding words, but it literally ignores what's actually happening.
the point he should have made instead of comparing it to Auschwitz, because it doesn't always have to be compared to Auschwitz. That's a very touchy topic.
Everything that's been said here so far, I could write an essay about it. I have so much to say, and it's difficult to just respond to literally all of the insane things that have been coming out of your mouths over the last 10 minutes, to be honest.
What was insane?
It would take
anything Riley said.
I do find behind closed doors
What was
quite
insane about
offensive.
anything Riley said? This is what Riley
Listen,
means.
can I just reply to Esther first?
You
because
can.
I don't want to disrespect
Everything Riley ever
who's-
says, people like you go, it's insane. And when I say, what is it she said that's insane?
It's a great question.
You want to move on?
No, I think what she said about how she doesn't agree with it, but whilst also saying, I don't. Well, that's not really supportive,
have to
is
agree
it?
with you.
It's not supportive.
She doesn't have to agree with
why
you.
does everyone need to support
They
something that
don't. They
believe in?
don't. But let me just try and make one single point, if I
not
can.
compulsory to
Please make a
support
point.
anybody.
It's not that these concerns that Riley raises aren't important, or that women's safety isn't important. All of that is important. And what happened to Riley, it's an important story that we should listen to. Everyone should. And the left shouldn't be attacking you for that. That literally shouldn't happen. No one should be attacking anyone. We
Okay.
should listen with empathy.
Yes.
But I think the issue occurs when we look at abuse rates in America for women, right? It's 1 in 3 women that are abused by men in America. You haven't commented on that. You haven't commented on abortion. You haven't commented on so many things. Trump discussing that it's okay to grab a woman's pussy. You don't.
What the fuck? Okay. This is just whataboutism then? So, like, it's important to talk about women's safety, but you don't talk about all these other things. Really? This is unironic British posturing right now. Oh, God.
Don't make comments on those issues, and those issues are affecting more women than a trans woman in a changing room, because there aren't that many. There's only 700,000 trans women in America.
So because
they can't
Riley-
all be abusing women, that would be insane. They're busy.
All right, I'll let Riley answer that herself.
There's a reason why. There's a
Ernest.
reason why for this, though. The truth of the matter is that there's always this conversation about the woke group, the far left group that's pushing an agenda. But we got to be real about the people like her who's pushing a far right agenda that oftentimes is coming after people of color,
What are you
coming
talking
after
about,
queer
far
people,
right?
and also pushing an agenda that
Ernest, when did Riley-
What do you mean far right? Acting as though because there was like 2 or 3 trans people that had an unfair advantage in sports, that now having trans people in sports, having trans people even near women is suddenly a giant risk to women. Women are in danger of the spooky trans people, even though there's no evidence to support this, even though all the evidence suggests that trans people are far more likely to be victimized, not to be perpetrators. They're far more likely to be victimized by violence. They're far less likely to be perpetrators of violence. So this is just all incorrect. So yeah, that's what he means when she says or when he says that Riley is trying to push a far-right agenda.
I'm like,
Games
well,
be
you,
far right.
you don't even know what woke means.
Hold on,
You don't even know
okay,
what
that's
woke
fine.
means, right?
That's
It's
fine.
the-
Can I
it's
just
the
ask you a
rhetoric
question?
that
Can I
you
just
use.
ask you a question,
And
Ernest?
that's fine.
Hold on, Ernest.
Right.
Can I
Yes,
ask
can we get some W's in chat for this king right here? Hell yeah. This guy's just literally, I thought he was going to be another annoying conservative, but instead he dropped in. He was like, you can't even tell me what woke means, you fucking idiots.
a question just to clarify because I'm none the wiser? Define
Sure.
far right. What's the definition of far right?
Far right are people that are pushing homophobic, transphobic views, misprescribing, misdefining terms such as woke. None of you all seem to really know what woke means, but you like to use it.
I
in
wrote a
private.
book about it.
That's not a
So if you're going to
definition.
use
I
woke,
literally wrote a
It's just
book
people
about
you
it.
disagree with.
I'm going to call
That's
you all
far right to you,
far-right
people you disagree with.
conservatives.
Yeah, and people that you disagree with, lady, you call woke. He's making that argument to you, and you're still fucking not getting it.
See,
Like, you
well, okay,
calling me
hang on.
No, it's the same thing with
Hang on.
left. Anybody you don't agree with, you call woke. So if you're gonna call anyone
the
you don't
only
agree with
person who
woke
has said
or
woke this
extreme or
entire
lefty,
time.
Yeah,
then
literally.
I'm
I don't even
gonna-
know.
Wait, really? What's her name again? Riley Gaines. I am going to find a post or something of Riley Gaines saying woke right now. For him to say, you guys don't even know what woke means, or you call everything woke, that is what you do.
What you all
One
mean.
person has said woke.
I'm gonna call you
Let
all
me say
that.
something.
It's the past tense.
You saying that
Like
I'm
I
a
said.
far-right homophobe. My response to that is saying that men can identify as women, and lesbians who don't want to date these men who identify as women. That is homophobic. You are using lesbians as your political pawn, and that's sick.
You've just-
Lesbians don't want this.
Riley,
Wait. What the fuck? Huh? Am I just watching like a schizophrenic dementia patient breaking from reality? Is she saying that like some lefty somewhere is suggesting that if there is a lesbian, meaning her sexual orientation is she's attracted to other females, that if there's now a biological male that says they identify as a woman, that the lesbian should now be willing to like be with the biological male who identifies as a woman? There are biological preferences there when we're talking about being gay, being lesbian, being straight. No one is saying that these biological preferences cease to exist or you must completely ignore them to somehow be inclusive.
just come out with that
Right,
from
so
nowhere.
why are
that
you
wasn't
calling a political
anywhere-
pun?
That wasn't
Why
part
are
of
you
this
calling it a
discussion. Where's that
political
come
pun?
from?
Even this guy's like, where the fuck did that come from? What? Why are you bringing up lesbians, huh?
Because he called me a homophobe, and I'm sitting here saying I'm fighting for
Well,
the
I
sex-based
think
rights of lesbians,
We
of
get
women.
emotional about this, and we're right to.
Get
because
emotional about
Yeah,
it.
right. You're fighting for rights of lesbian women to date other biological females. Like, yeah, that they kind of already have that right.
discussing our rights.
How
is
do you
upsetting.
conflate? How do you conflate?
Hang on,
how do you
please don't
conflate
talk over each other.
transphobia
Hang on,
with
hang on.
fighting for
Ernest,
women's
Ernest, hang on.
rights?
Don't talk over each other, because otherwise we can't hear what's going on.
Yes.
You see, James, it's interesting because you showed zero support for Riley's
That's
campaign.
not actually what happened. I just showed some
no,
support.
I'm talking about her campaign. You want to campaign about everything, but she's actually chosen the one that has directly impacted
No,
her
my
life.
question is,
No, hang
why
on.
aren't you
I haven't asked you
concerned
the
about
question.
that too? Well, let's
You-
ask Riley if she
I'm
is
about
concerned
to
about
She
ask
hasn't been
you-
hit by a man, James.
No, I'm going to come to that, but she's not here to talk about abuse of women. She's talking about the infringement on women's rights to fairness and equality in women's sport, which she herself has personally suffered from, right? Now, you have shown zero support for
That's
any
not
women
true.
like Riley Gaines.
That's not
That's
true.
actually not true, because even though it was kind of like cringy posturing and virtue signaling, he did just a little while ago say that like the left shouldn't be attacking her and she should be able to tell her story and things like this. This guy hasn't really made very many good arguments. Let's not kid ourselves here. But Piers Morgan being like, and you don't even agree with anything. You would attack them. You like that's actually not what just happened. And it kind of feels like Piers is trying to gaslight the audience right now.
True, I just said it's an important
literally
story.
said in
I
sport-
literally said it's an important story that
Sorry,
we need to
last
listen to.
week you
That's
said
what I
it-
said.
last week you
Piers,
lit-
I literally just said 2 minutes ago it's an
If I
important
may
story.
say, if I
that
may
we need to
remind
listen
you,
to.
I know a week is a long time in James Barr's memory lapse, but
But it was
last,
over a week because
la-
you've been on holiday.
Last week, I had 3 days off. Last week, you said that the Olympics should be gender neutral.
Well, I still think it would solve a lot of problems.
It would solve zero problems.
It would solve so
and that
many
shows,
problems.
And my point, and I'll
I'm
bring-
not a sports
Let me
commentator.
Yeah, and listen, like, it doesn't matter really where you land on that. Saying that, like, the Olympics should be gender neutral is fucking stupid. I'm sorry. We cannot pretend that there isn't a biological difference between males and females, especially when we're talking about adult athletes who have already gone through either a male or female puberty. This is going to have some effect on how well you can play some sports. Now, I also don't think it would be right to say trans people just shouldn't be allowed in sports. I think there's a lot of factors right now that need to be considered. And I think later on, it would be nice to change the categories away from gender and maybe start categorizing things more based on strength, because there are some strong women who are far stronger than men and vice versa. Why don't you have categories of just equally strong people or people that are around the same speed? You could kind of do categories that way maybe. But for the time being, right now, sports are categorized by gender. It's not great, and I would like to see the categories change, but they're not going to change by just pretending that there is absolutely no biological difference between males and females.
I don't know sport, but I'm
come
telling you,
on,
I think we
James.
should listen to Riley's story. But my issue is not the story or the concern. My issue is that it's the only concern. And then when we drill it down,
It's literally
and we
her
say,
campaign.
What do you think about abortion rights in America? What do you think about what Trump says? You don't want to comment on
What
it.
do you think
well,
about the
maybe-
Uyghur Muslims in China?
Yeah,
Well,
exactly. Maybe that's
I
her
don't-
truth.
What have you tweeted about the Uyghur Muslims? You haven't.
About that.
So you're a
I
bloody
don't know
hypocrite.
about
So
it.
be
I'm not a
quiet.
hypocrite, but I'm saying
Not
that
everyone
that's
wants to do
why
everything.
I'm
This is
trying
not-
to explain why the
Sorry
left
here.
get
All
upset.
right, fine.
It's
Let me-
because we're
let
looking
me
at it and
bring
we're going,
POV, my family at Thanksgiving, after I just said, you know, Biden actually isn't that bad.
That's
Everyone wants to do
why
everything.
I'm
This is
trying
not-
to explain why the
Sorry
left
here.
get
All
upset.
right, fine.
It's
Let me-
because we're looking
let me
at it and
bring
we're going,
Riley-
the only
hypocrisy
thing you're
here.
bringing up
There-
is
Let
trans.
me-
is-
let-
but the
let me bring in
hypocrisy-
Riley. Let's try and get some
That's
order
fine.
here. This is
But here's
exactly
the
my...
issue. The
Ernest,
hypocrisy
wait a
is-
moment,
the
please.
hypocrisy
Wait
is-
a moment, Ernest.
Yeah.
Riley, here's my point. We've just seen right there the hypocrisy.
It's not
Right there. Right?
I'm
Is
trying
that
to explain.
When I say to James Barr, why don't you talk about Uyghur Muslims oppression? Well, why should
don't you
I?
talk about Uyghur Muslims?
Why should I? I do.
Right.
Why should I? He doesn't. But he wants you to talk about all
No,
these
I
other
don't.
issues.
I am trying to explain why we get upset. It's because we look at it and we go, why is J.K. Rowling only concerned about this one thing?
She's
if
not only
really
concerned about
women?
that. She
And
tweets
why-
about a lot of stuff. Let me bring in Riley.
This is just a weak ass argument. It doesn't matter if it's the conservative or if it's the liberal making the argument. It's just a fucking shitbag argument. If your only argument is just, well, how come you didn't talk about insert random topic, then you have a shit argument. That's why you'll notice in my debates, I don't usually say things like, well, you say you're in favor of women, but you never said anything about this one random policy that I have an opinion on and the way it affects women. Curious. That would be silly. You can't expect people to comment on everything, and just a lack of a comment on something does not actually deem them a hypocrite in any way. So this James guy is actually getting himself in a corner because he's making a dumb fuck argument. Don't make an argument like that.
Is to say that this is the only issue that I care about. I spend majority of my time advocating for this issue, but that's not to say that I don't speak on other issues. A big campaign of mine and what I am advocating for now is women in prisons. Women who are most of the time victims of domestic assault,
Let me guess, women in prisons being forced to be with trans people, right? It's going to go back to trans people, right?
abuse. To which your point, I will say any form of sexual violence, any form of domestic violence that women face is entirely wrong and should be denounced, and those who commit it should be criminalized. But a large push right now is for fighting for these women in prisons, incarcerated women. They still deserve sex-based protections and their rights too.
But it always comes back to
regardless
this
of
one
being-
issue, which only affects which affects less women than the major
Does
issue.
that make it? Does that
No,
make it
it doesn't
valid?
make it wrong,
But that
and
was
it's
the point I
okay
was
that
making
that's one of
earlier.
your
Let me bring in-
issues,
let me
but
bring
I'm
in-
explaining
all
why
right.
we get upset.
Right.
Don't talk over each other. Ernest.
Right. Yes. The point I'm making is that that's exactly the point I was trying to make earlier, is that while she cares about other issues that are very important, and I agree with her on several of those issues, she's being platformed only when it comes to particular issues that are divisive, that are transphobic, that do not
They're
show
not
the full nuance
transphobic,
of her
Ernest.
explored
They
interests.
actually are. Like, we already looked at the stats, and we see that when trans women are put in prisons with cis women, they are not at a higher risk. They're not more likely to engage in any kind of violence against cis women. But if you put a trans woman in a male prison, they're far more likely to be raped and abused. So it is transphobic to act as though you are doing some noble thing, fighting for the rights of wham and everywhere, when in reality, you're strawmanning something, you're deciding that this is something worth being afraid of, even though there's no evidence of that, and you're using this made-up fear to demonize trans people, to make people literally afraid of trans people. That is almost as transphobic, definitionally, as you can fucking get.
It's not
so that's what it
transphobic
is.
to think
The issue is
6'4"
we're having a
biological
conversation.
males
Why is
should
this
not be
conversation
competing
being
against
conflated
women.
with Pride Month? Why is this being conflated with Pride Month, Piers? Why?
It's not being
Why
conflated.
is she here talking about? Why is she in the conversation around Pride Month?
She wasn't. She was in a conversation about
Why?
her book, which then led to a conversation about
It's
Pride
no,
Month.
but she's talking. But she's also
Because
in a
Pride Month
conversation about
affects
Pride Month.
every
Why is there a
single person.
conflation there?
Pride Month affects
Oh, because because it goes aligned with your far right agenda. And
Why
that's
do-
why
all
you're
right,
bothered.
she's not far right.
That's the
She's
issue that we're
really
talking about on the
amazing.
channel.
I think he's talking.
Ernest, let me ask you.
I love this guy, man. He just drops in here in such a calm, collected voice, riles everybody up, and then just smirks as they all melt down into like a triggered puddle of piss. It's fucking hysterical.
Ernest,
know about me that
Ernest,
could
why do we
possibly
have
be
to have...
far right.
I want to ask Ernest a question. Why do we have to have a month of Pride?
Go ahead.
Here we
Why?
go again. Every year. Oh boy. Why do we have to have a whole month for Pride? I don't really know. Why? Why don't we have a whole month for veterans? Isn't there also like a whole month for men's mental health? There's a lot of months going on, pal. If I was asked this question, I'm thinking about how I would answer. If he was like, Hunter, why do we need to have a month of Pride? I would say, well, we don't really need to have a month. It doesn't need to be a month. But the reason that I think that it's good that we have a form of celebration when it comes to gay people is the fact that gay people have made really big strides when it comes to fighting for their rights. And I think that that is worth celebrating. I think it shows the progress that we as a country have made. I think it shows that we're more accepting and more inclusive, that people are able to live their lives even more freely. They're essentially able to pursue the American dream even less hindered by external obstacles. This sounds like a win-win to me.
Because the reason why is because it's people like you who don't understand why we really have it. It's not really about
No, I don't.
sexuality. It's
So
about
explain to me.
allowing people
Explain to
who
me.
are like myself, who don't feel like they're being represented or being protected in a world and a society where people like Riley gets a platform to spew misinformation.
What's
And
the
so
misinformation?
visibility, representation
What's
is
the
important.
misinformation, Ernest?
The misinformation about gender.
Tell me
Like, you're
one
over
thing
here
she
acting
said.
Like
Tell me
there's
one
this
thing
big,
she said
huge
that's
attack.
wrong.
Weaponizing transgender people.
Tell me
as an
one
attack
thing
on
she
women.
said, Ernest, that's
That is
wrong.
just the
He's
biggest-
literally trying to answer, and before he can even get a fucking word out, Piers is like, tell me what it is that she said, daddy pig.
Ernest.
And I just said that.
Ernest.
And I just
no,
said
no.
it.
I think it's the
I
vibe,
want you
right?
to
You didn't hear what I
correct
said.
one thing she said that was wrong.
Can you hear?
Yeah? Answer me.
So, transgender people's existence does not threaten the existence of women.
Thank
what's-
you.
no.
That is what Riley has been saying, yes. She's been saying she's fighting for sex-based rights and protections for women. That means that she wants there to be sex separation categories separating trans women from cis women. He is giving you the answer.
No one has said that. Nobody said that.
But it is the vibe, though, isn't
Hang
it?
on, no.
That is the vibe of this whole debate.
No.
It is,
No.
though. That's definitely
I'm
the
sorry.
vibe. I'd say that's the vibe of your whole channel, actually.
Ernest, nobody has ever
That's
said
the
that.
vibe.
No one said that.
It's the vibe.
I support
Yeah, it's the vibe. I mean, I got the vibe.
Ernest. Nobody has
Y'all
ever...
got the vibe, right?
It's the vibe.
I support trans rights,
Ask her the
defenders, and
question, does she
equality.
believe that, though?
You
Ask
are.
her- no,
you
I'm
cannot
not
think of a
talking to you,
single
Piers.
thing.
Ask her that.
All right, I'm asking
Ask
you one
her.
more time. Tell me one thing Riley
ask her.
Gaines has said, this far-right lunatic who's lying apparently. Tell me one thing she said that is actually factually untrue.
Like I said before, trying to position
You can't answer, can
and
you?
over-index.
This guy is explaining why Riley's overall platform and the narrative that she is pushing, why it's harmful. And Piers is like, you can't answer the damn question, can you? You can't even answer the bloody question, I might.
Sports, I said it again.
Yes, I know that was an Australian accent, and I don't care. I'm making fun of British people all the same.
Over-indexing the role of
Okay, then,
transgender people in
Chris, I have a
sports
question for
as
you.
if it poses a threat to cisgender women.
Cisgender.
I've got a question
BS.
for you then, Ernest. Why aren't we seeing women infiltrate into men's sports?
Yeah, of course we're not. Because they can't compete. You don't see any trans men going into men's sport, do you? Because they can't. They'd lose.
And I don't.
Ernest,
I'm trying to figure out
I'm
what,
pretty sure there
what are you
are.
trying to say?
There aren't. There are no
pretty-
trans
Are you
men
trying to say
competing at
that
a high level
transgender
in
women
men's
are not
sport.
women?
It doesn't happen.
No,
Doesn't exist.
trans women are not
No, I
women.
want to hear this.
Trans women are
She
men.
does not believe that transgender women are women.
Because they're not.
Right.
That's actually really fucking rich. This whole time, they're like, she hasn't said anything transphobic. And then she literally just said trans women are men. Literally denying a trans person's identity. Hey, there, look, she said something transphobic. Well, that's not transphobic.
I don't think we should get into
They
that
are not.
because honestly,
and
I find
and
that
for,
offensive.
please,
transphobia is
stop,
here.
please stop
There you
abusing
go.
women by calling us cisgender. Women are just women, right?
So abusing women by calling them cis? Wow, how fucking sensitive are you? Oh my god. You sound like a fucking baby.
Anything else?
So
you can
see how
add
she
all
said
the
abusing
embellishments
women?
to it.
So she
They
does
are-
not.
that
She
doesn't
does
make
not
you a
consider
woman. I
trans
can't believe
women
we have to have this
women.
You know where this
and
takes
she
you,
considers
Ernest?
abusing.
Ernest.
These are far.
Ernest.
These are far. These are
Well, you
far
mean
right talking
biological
points.
reality?
Hey,
How
no.
is this guy, how are none of them getting like, yes, trans women aren't women? That is a far right thing to say, yeah. This woman getting fucking, like literally throwing a temper tantrum over being called a cis woman? Yeah, that's far right. Only a far right baby bitch would get that fucking triggered over a definitional term.
Where this-
Is
where
that-
this
is that
mind-
it?
Here's where
Hey,
this mind.
Ernest, if
Hang
I'm
on,
a
hang
transphobe,
on.
then you are a misogynist.
And
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
complaining with Pride Month.
That's complete nonsense. The Ovarian Cancer UK.
So defending
Hang
transgender
on,
women
Ernest,
and
keep
defending
quiet for a
women
moment.
overall is putting you in a
Ernest, please
position
stop
to call it
talking.
misogyny.
I'm reading something.
All right, yeah, we're gonna skip whatever the fuck that is. Now we're gonna go over here to this Piers identifies as a black man part. Oh boy.
When you ask
It's
specific
very
questions,
obvious- it's very
Ernest, stop
obvious that
shouting.
Everybody,
Uh,
the conversation is clear.
Yes, go on,
Oh,
go on,
okay,
Ernest.
so I got to be quiet. But
Go on, Ernest.
in a nutshell, the larger point I'm making here is that the reason why I'm saying transphobia is because it's clear on this panel that a lot of you on this panel believe that there is only one type of woman, which is cisgender women, and anyone else does not prescribe to that definition for you all.
No,
And in
here's
my
what-
opinion,
no,
that
no.
is transphobic.
Here's what I
you only
believe.
believe that
Let me
cisgender
answer,
women
Ernest.
are women, and everyone
Okay,
else
are there different
is
types
not
of black
included in the
people?
conversation.
Or is black just black?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if I said all black people were the same, I'd be racist, right? So, huh?
It's called It's called diaspora.
That's
You
because
don't know that?
it's because black
Caribbeans,
is just
Jamaicans.
black. Just like there's no such thing as cisgender and transgender. There are just women.
Oh no, she actually didn't. She's actually taking the racist approach. She's literally doing. She's like, see, there's just black people. No, there's not. This guy's like, there's Caribbean, there's African American, what? And she's just like, no, they're all black, just like women. See, it's just woman is a woman. That's it. There are different types of black people. There are different types of white people. People are different, lady.
You can embellish your titles whatever you want.
Why are you
and
conflating
walk
race
down the
with
street
gender?
in a
Let
Let me
nice
ask you this,
outfit,
Ernest.
studded heel, that
Ernest,
doesn't make you a
let me
woman.
ask you this.
Women are
Why are you
women.
conflating
Hang
race
on,
with gender?
hang on, don't all shout. Ernest, let me ask you this. If I now identify as a black man, am I a black man?
No, and here's the answer why. So, first and foremost, race and gender, they are both categories, but they're different kinds of categories. Gender refers to a socially constructed form of identity. Race is a little bit more complicated than that. Yes, it does carry with it an identity, but that identity is ultimately in regards to still how we would define color, how we see their skin color, etc., just like how we would kind of classify white people, right? So that is in relation to something else. In this case, it would be ethnicity or race, something like this. The category of gender, however, is a form of identity, and it is only a form of identity. And that ultimately goes back to their identity. So that's why if somebody says, I'm a woman, they can be a woman, because that's what gender is. It's a form of identity. Just like if I said, I'm a New York Jets fan, that's a form of identity, but I could say I'm a New York Jets fan and be a New York Jets fan right now, but I couldn't say I'm black and just be black. These categories are based on different things. Race is inherited, gender isn't. Yeah, exactly.
Why are you conflating race with gender, Pierce?
I'm just
It's not the
asking you a
same
question,
thing.
Ernest.
That's intellectually dishonest.
If I identify...
That's intellectually dishonest.
Maybe, but it's a question you don't want to
It's
ask.
literally the exact same question. It's like, if I identify as an attack helicopter, am I an attack helicopter? No. Because that's not a socially constructed form of gender identity.
If self-identity is limitless,
Because if
I'm
race
now
is
a
not the
black
same
man
as gender.
called Ernest.
Nobody's saying that. See how they just strawman that? No one is saying that self-identity is limitless. Self-identity is still in relation to things. In the case of gender, your self-identity is in relation to a socially constructed form of gender that we all collectively more or less recognize.
Race is not the same as gender.
Am I a black man if I say I'm a black man?
Say it again.
Am I a black man
Listen,
if I say I'm a black
you
man?
Can be...
Am I?
No, because you're a white man, because
Thank you.
it's race.
So you don't
because race
respect
is not
my
the same as
rights
gender.
to identify as a black man, do you?
No, because that's not the same as identifying as a woman. Because a woman refers, not female, not male, woman refers to the socially constructed form of identity, the collection of traits that we recognize as being feminine. When someone says, if there's a biological male who's trans, so they say, I identify as a woman, they don't think that their biological penis becomes a vagina. Nobody thinks this.
Do you think it's ridiculous?
You can identify as a black man. You can identify as a black man, Pierce, but I know you lean on white privilege more than anything else.
Okay, just to be clear,
you wanted to.
you wouldn't respect my
So
rights
don't
to
even
identify
reflect
as a...
your
Piers is getting fucking cooked.
Wow. You don't respect my rights to identify as a black man. In fact, you think it's ridiculous, don't you, Ernest?
You could, Pierce, you could if you wanted to. And the reality is
would
that
you
in
respect
society,
me,
a white
Ernest?
man like you
Would you
can
respect
identify
me?
as black
Would you
and
respect
not,
me
and not
and
be
refer to
harmed
me as
in
a
the
black
same way
man?
that a
Yeah,
trans...
he thinks being validly able to identify as one thing means anything can be a valid identity. Exactly. Like, because I can validly identify as, like, a fan of a certain movie, right? I can identify as a fan of something. I can identify as a streamer. That does not mean that I can then identify as a millionaire and have $1 million. Some things are strictly identities. Some things are identities or titles even that carry with it something else. Just like if I say, I identify as a plumber, I'm not a plumber. Because a plumber is not strictly a form of identity. It is usually an identity in relation to a type of career you have based on the type of schooling you took and the skill you have. But Piers is unironically like, oh, well, if you can identify as, like, gender is malleable, then now every category can be identified with.
A gender person would.
Would you respect me and refer to me as a black man? Would you respect me and refer to me as a black man? Yes or no?
No.
Thank you, Ernest. Okay, let's move on to something else. This is...
The point...
I cannot believe all these conservatives are up here fucking smugly smirking as if they just got him when they're all just so stupid. It's the meme. It's the meme where the one guy is in the pool, in the clean water, and all the other people are around him in the pee water, swimming around in piss, pointing at the guy in the clean water, laughing. That's what it feels like right now. They're all so retarded that they actually think that was a win?
Ernest,
you had your chance. You had your chance. Ernest, you had your chance. Obviously, you wouldn't accept it because I'm not black.
You didn't even post a black square.
I'm not
Piers.
a black man. But you know what? Let's move on. Let's move on to some other lunatics.
You don't want to be a black man, Pierce.
Let's
you
move
don't
on
want
to
to be black.
All right, calm down, Ernest. Let's move on to Ali Baldwin.
I want to be black, Pierce.
I want to move on to Ali Baldwin.
Oh my God. That was absolutely painful. Piers Morgan is really bad faith sometimes. He also strawmans a lot. Dude, this is just fucking, like, this is just Adventures in Retardville all over again. The only sane person here was this guy in the middle. Well, there you guys have it. Piers Morgan is apparently so insecure about his tiny dick that he's now identifying as black in hopes that it'll make his dick get bigger. We all know that's not gonna happen.